In a world that's under increasing pressure, from wildfires scorching our hillsides to a climate that just keeps warming, we're all being forced to find new ways to adapt and endure. So today, we're going to dive into that incredible story of resilience, but we're going to look at it on three completely different scales: the animal clan, the global city, and even the simple hiking trail. Let's get into it.
Let's start with this really powerful thought from Anna Marie Penny. She lost her home in the Topanga area during those devastating LA wildfires, and her words just perfectly capture the heart of this whole issue. See, resilience isn't really about getting back to what was. It's about facing irreversible change and figuring out a new way to move forward.
And the scale of that change, it can be absolutely staggering. This number, 6,837, that's how many homes and other buildings were destroyed in just one of those fires, the Palisades Fire. It's just a stark reminder of the immense physical toll these mega disasters take.
But here's the thing, this isn't just about one fire in one city. This challenge is universal. It doesn't matter if you're a tiny creature in the desert or a citizen in a massive metropolis. The fundamental rule of this new era is pretty much the same. You either adapt or you perish.
So for our first case study, we're going somewhere you might not expect. We're heading to the Kalahari Desert to check out a tiny but incredibly fierce society that has some amazing lessons for us about surviving against the odds.
So meerkats live in what's called a matriarchy, and that means one single, dominant female is in charge. She's the leader, she's the decision maker, and, this is the crucial part, she's pretty much the only one who gets to breed. Everyone else in the clan? They're there to support her and her kids. It's a super strict hierarchy, and as we're about to see, it's more important now than ever.
The pressure these little animals are under is just immense. As you can see here, since the late 1990s, the average temperature where they live in southern Africa has shot up by over 2 degrees Celsius. That is a huge jump, way more dramatic than almost anywhere else on Earth. And all that extreme heat, it leads to severe droughts, and that means fewer insects, which is their main food source.
So how does this social structure actually help them adapt? Well, it's all about specializing. Think of it like a highly efficient team. The matriarch, she focuses only on her one job, being the clan's breeder, and she's literally built for it. This lets everyone else, the subordinates who are often her own kids, handle all the other critical tasks: finding food, standing guard, and raising the next generation. This super strict division of labor makes for an incredibly efficient system, which is absolutely essential when you're trying to survive in a much harsher world.
This quote, wow, it really captures just how tough that survival is. When food gets scarce, the matriarch's aggression isn't just random, it's strategic. She will prioritize her own pups, and sometimes that means killing the young of other females in the group. It sounds brutal, and it is, but it's also a brutally effective adaptation to make sure that in the absolute toughest times, the strongest lineage survives, securing the clan's future.
Okay, so let's scale way up. We're going from the tiny animal clan to the human city, where we are also being forced to completely rethink our habitats on a massive scale when disaster strikes. I mean, just look at this timeline. From massive earthquakes in Chile and Turkey, to Hurricane Sandy slamming New York, and the Camp Fire wiping out Paradise, California, these huge, devastating events are not rare anymore. They're becoming a frequent reality, and they're forcing communities all over the world to face their deepest vulnerabilities head-on. Take the city of Antakya, Turkey. It was just shattered by a massive earthquake in 2023. But that tragedy became a chance to start over. Instead of just rebuilding the same vulnerable high-rises, the new master plan calls for lower buildings, way more green space along the river, and modern foundations built to handle future shocks. It's a complete redesign with safety and quality of life in mind.
Now, New York City had a totally different kind of challenge after Hurricane Sandy. The city wasn't reduced to rubble, but it got hit with $19 billion in damages. So the question wasn't just how do we rebuild, it was how do we fortify ourselves for the next storm that we know is coming.
And their answer is a project called the Dry Line. And this is genius. It's not just some giant ugly seawall. It's a brilliant example of what they call hiding resilience in plain sight. They're building 10 miles of coastal defense that's actually woven into the community. We're talking raised parks that double as storm barriers, massive floodgates disguised as public art, and beautiful new bridges and spaces for residents. It's protection that actually makes daily life better.
And that brings us to our final scale. We're going to zoom way in now,
from the massive city to the much more intimate level of a single hiking trail. And this shows us that resilience isn't always about huge engineering projects. Sometimes it's about working in perfect harmony with nature itself.
This is the philosophy of a master trail builder named Jed Talbot. He sees a trail as a permanent mark on the land, a scar. So his entire goal is to make that scar as surgical and as minimal as he possibly can, to create a path that lets us experience nature without wrecking it in the process.
So how does he do it? Well, it's this amazing mix of science and art. It's about scientifically managing water so you don't cause erosion. But it's also about psychologically guiding the hiker so they stay on the path. A really sustainable trail uses the landscape to feel like it just belongs there, creating a natural flow that's so good you almost forget you're on a trail at all.
And the difference is just night and day. The old way of building trails was basically to cut a straight, steep gash right up a mountain. It channeled water like a gutter and caused massive erosion. The new, sustainable way creates a beautiful, flowing path that follows the natural curves of the land. It sheds water, prevents damage, and turns what used to be a grueling slog into a totally immersive journey. Okay, so from the Kalahari Desert to the streets of New York to a quiet trail in the woods, what have we actually learned? Let's try and tie all these lessons together, from the clan, the city, and the trail.
We basically looked at 3 totally different blueprints for resilience. The meerkats, they show us how to adapt our social behavior to survive. Our cities are teaching us how to re-engineer our entire world to withstand the shocks that are coming. And the sustainable trail, it shows us how we can harmonize our own presence with the natural world around us. And this brings us right to the core idea, the big takeaway. True resilience, it's not just about bouncing back to some old normal. That's the old way of thinking. It's a proactive, thoughtful process. It's about learning from the shocks and the pressures to build something stronger, something smarter, and something way better suited for the future. And that leaves all of us with a final question to think about. As the pressures on our world keep mounting, which path are we going to choose? Will we adapt with a focused, sometimes ruthless survival instinct of a meerkat matriarch, or with the bold, forward-thinking vision of a city architect, or maybe with the quiet, harmonious wisdom of a trail builder? The choice we make is going to define the world we leave behind.